The first time I tried on my sister's dress. It was an accident. Well, maybe not completely an accident. I'd been curious for months, ever since Rachel left for college, and her closet remained untouched in our shared bedroom. The soft fabrics called to me in a way I couldn't explain. "Just 5 minutes?" I whispered to myself, glancing nervously at my bedroom door, even though Mom wouldn't be home from work for hours. My name is Ethan, and I was 16 when I discovered something about myself that I'd been trying to ignore for years. The feeling had always been there, hovering just beneath the surface, a strange disconnect between who I was supposed to be and who I felt like inside. Rachel's blue sundress slipped over my head surprisingly easily. The cotton material felt cool against my skin, and when I turned to face the mirror, something inside me quieted. For the first time in forever, the anxious buzz in my chest settled into a peaceful hum. "Oh," I breathed, turning slightly to see how the dress moved with me. Oh wow. It wasn't that I looked feminine exactly. My shoulders were too broad, my jaw too angular, but something about seeing myself this way made me feel right. I stood there for nearly an hour, just looking, just breathing, until I heard Mom's car pull into the driveway. I changed so quickly I tore one of the seams. The dress went back into Rachel's closet, but the memory stayed with me. "Ethan, you're zoning out again." Mom waved her hand in front of my face, her brow furrowed in concern. "Are you feeling okay?" We were sitting at the kitchen table, half-eaten dinner between us. I'd been pushing my peas around my plate for 10 minutes, lost in thought. "Yeah, sorry. Just thinking about school stuff." Mom didn't look convinced. "You've been distracted all week. Is someone bothering you at school?" I shook my head. "No, nothing like that." I hesitated, feeling the weight of what I wasn't saying. "I'm just figuring some stuff out. You know, you can talk to me about anything, right?" Mom reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Whatever it is." I wasn't even sure what it was. "How do you explain something you don't understand yourself?" "I know, Mom. Thanks." I managed a smile that felt mechanical. "I think I'm going to finish homework early tonight." Upstairs, I locked my bedroom door and stood in front of the mirror. My reflection stared back at me. Brown hair cut short the way Dad used to wear his, faded t-shirt, jeans that hung loosely from my hips. I looked like any other guy at school. Normal, ordinary. So why did it feel like looking at a stranger? 3 weeks after first trying on Rachel's dress, I worked up the courage to buy something of my own. The mall was busy enough that nobody paid attention to me slipping into the women's section of Target. Heart pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. I selected a simple dark blue skirt, checking the size against my waist when nobody was looking. On my way to the register, I grabbed a plain white blouse too, telling myself the whole time that I could always return them if I changed my mind. The cashier barely glanced at me. "Did you find everything okay?" "Yeah. They're for my sister." The lie tumbled out before I could stop it. She nodded, scanning the items. "That's sweet of you. My brother would never shop for me." I paid quickly and hurried out, the plastic bag feeling like it weighed 100 pounds. That night, with my door safely locked, I tried on my new clothes. The skirt had a simple elastic waist and fell just above my knees. The blouse was loose enough to hide my flat chest and narrow shoulders. When I turned to the mirror, something close to happiness bubbled up inside me. "Hi," I whispered to my reflection, and for once, it felt like I was actually seeing myself. That feeling stayed with me for days afterward. A quiet certainty in the back of my mind, like finding a puzzle piece you didn't know was missing. At school, I'd find myself drifting into daydreams, reliving how I felt in that moment of recognition. "Earth to Ethan." Mike waved his hand in front of my face, grinning. "Man, where do you keep going lately? Is there a girl I don't know about?" We were sitting in the cafeteria, surrounded by the usual chaos of lunch period. I forced a laugh and took a bite of my sandwich to avoid answering right away. "No, just haven't been sleeping great," I said finally. Mike nodded sympathetically. "Midterms coming up. I get it." I let him believe that was the problem. Mike had been my best friend since 3rd grade, but lately, I felt a distance growing between us. Not because of anything he'd done, but because of everything I wasn't saying. "Hey, you coming to Jason's party Friday?" Mike asked, already moving on. "Probably not. Mom needs help with some stuff around the house." Another small lie in the growing collection. The truth was, Friday nights had become my time. Mom worked late shifts at the hospital, which meant I had hours to myself. Hours where I could be whoever I was becoming. "Ethan," Mom's voice called from downstairs. "Can you come help me with these groceries?" "Coming," I shouted back, quickly tucking my small collection of clothes into the back of my closet, behind winter coats and old sports equipment. I jogged downstairs, helping Mom unload bags of groceries onto the kitchen counter. She smiled at me, tucking a strand of her graying hair behind her ear. "Thanks, honey. Oh, before I forget," Aunt Laura called. "She's cleaning out her closet and has some clothes she thought Rachel might want when she visits for Thanksgiving. I told her you'd stop by after school tomorrow to pick them up." My heart did a little skip. Aunt Laura was Mom's younger sister, always stylishly dressed and about my height. "Yeah, sure. No problem." The next day, I knocked on Aunt Laura's apartment door, expecting a quick handoff of a bag or box. Instead, she welcomed me in with a warm hug. "Ethan, look at you getting so tall. Come on in. I've got everything laid out in the living room." I followed her, surprised to see not just a small pile, but several stacks of clothing neatly arranged on her couch. "I wasn't sure what Rachel's style is these days," Aunt Laura said, gesturing to the clothes. "College changes people, so I thought I'd let you pick what you think she'd like." I nodded, trying not to look too interested as I browsed through the items. Soft sweaters, a few dresses, skirts in different lengths and colors. My fingers lingered on a deep green sweater dress that looked incredibly soft. "That's cashmere," Aunt Laura said, noticing my interest. "Beautiful color, isn't it?" Would bring out Rachel's eyes. She paused, then added thoughtfully, "You have the same eyes, you know?" I quickly moved my hand away. "Yeah, she'd probably like this one." Aunt Laura watched me for a moment, her head tilted slightly. "Ethan, can I ask you something?" My stomach dropped. "Sure," I managed to say, though my mouth had gone dry. "Are you okay? You seem, I don't know, different lately. Your mom's noticed, too." "I'm fine," I said automatically, then stopped. Aunt Laura had always been the easiest adult to talk to. When I was 9 and broke Mom's favorite vase, it was Aunt Laura who helped me glue it back together. When I was 13 and got into my first fight at school, she was the one who didn't lecture me, but just listened. "Actually," I said slowly, "I've been dealing with some stuff, just trying to figure things out." Aunt Laura nodded, sitting down in the armchair across from the couch. "Want to talk about it?" "I don't really know how to explain it," I admitted. "It's like sometimes I don't feel like myself, or the self everyone sees isn't really me." The words came out awkward and disjointed. Aunt Laura didn't rush to fill the silence. She just waited, letting me gather my thoughts. "Sometimes," I continued, "I wonder what it would be like to be different, to look different." "Different how?" she asked gently. I gestured vaguely at the clothes. "Just different." Understanding dawned in her eyes, but not judgment. "Ethan," she said carefully, "are you curious about exploring how you express yourself? Maybe in ways that aren't typically what people expect from boys your age." It was the most diplomatic way anyone had ever come close to asking what I'd been asking myself. I nodded, unable to meet her eyes. "You know," she said after a moment, "clothes are just fabric. They don't have gender until we assign it to them. Throughout history, what's considered masculine or feminine has changed constantly." I looked up at her, surprised by her calm rationality. "What I'm saying is," she continued, "it's okay to explore who you are. It's okay to try things and see how they feel. That's how we learn about ourselves." "But what if?" I struggled to voice my deepest fear. "What if Mom doesn't understand?" Aunt Laura smiled gently. "Your mom loves you more than anything in this world. She might need time to adjust, but she'll always love you no matter what." She stood up and picked up the green sweater dress I'd been admiring. "Why don't you try this on? If you don't like it, no harm done. If you do, well, that's information worth having, isn't it? My heart pounded as I took the soft fabric from her. You don't think it's weird, Ethan? I think discovering who you are is the most natural thing in the world. The green sweater dress became my favorite piece of clothing. Aunt Laura had given me that and a few other items for Rachel. But we both knew the truth. In the privacy of my room, I'd wear the dress and just exist. Doing homework, reading, listening to music, trying to get comfortable with this new version of myself. One Friday evening, feeling braver than usual, I decided to try makeup. I'd watched enough YouTube tutorials secretly on my phone to have a basic idea of what to do. Aunt Laura had included a small makeup bag with the clothes, and I carefully applied a little foundation, some mascara, and tinted lip balm. The person in the mirror looked softer, more like how I felt inside. I was so absorbed in my reflection that I didn't hear the front door open, didn't register the footsteps on the stairs. My bedroom door swung open. I'd forgotten to lock it. Hey, I thought we could order. Mom froze in the doorway, her sentence hanging unfinished in the air between us. Time seemed to stop. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think of a single thing to say. Mom's eyes widened as she took in the dress, the makeup, the unmistakable evidence of what I'd been hiding. Mom! My voice broke. Tears welled up, blurring my vision. Mom! Mom stepped into the room and closed the door behind her. Her face was unreadable as she slowly crossed to where I stood trembling by my mirror. How long? She asked quietly. A few months, I whispered. I'm sorry. No. She shook her head firmly. Don't apologize. Not for this. She reached out hesitantly, then gently touched the sleeve of the dress. Is this from Laura? I nodded, not trusting my voice. I thought she'd been acting strange when I called her last week. Mom sighed, then looked directly into my eyes. Why didn't you tell me, Ethan? Did you think I wouldn't understand? I didn't understand it myself, I admitted. I still don't. Not really. I just know that sometimes this feels right. Mom nodded slowly. Does it help if I tell you that Rachel went through something similar when she was about your age? Not exactly the same, but she was trying to figure out who she was, too. We all do. This was news to me. Perfect, confident Rachel had doubts about herself. The thing is, Mom continued, sitting on the edge of my bed, figuring yourself out isn't something you have to do alone. That's what family is for. The tears I'd been holding back spilled over. Mom opened her arms and I fell into them like I was a little kid again, crying against her shoulder. I love you, she murmured into my hair. All of you, however you are. Even like this? I asked, pulling back to gesture at my appearance. Especially like this, she said firmly. Because this is you being honest, being real. There's nothing more important than that. She wiped a tear from my cheek, careful not to smudge the mascara. Now you look beautiful, but your technique needs work. Want some tips from someone who's been doing this for 40 years? I laughed through my tears, nodding. Good. And maybe tomorrow we can go shopping. Get you some things that actually fit properly. I'd like that, I said, feeling something unfurl in my chest. Something that felt a lot like hope. I'd like that a lot. 3 months later, I stood in front of my mirror again. The person looking back at me wore jeans and a simple blue sweater. Nothing particularly feminine or masculine. My hair had grown out a little, softening the angles of my face. I wasn't wearing makeup today. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. Mike had been surprised at first when I started changing my appearance at school. Little things at first, then more noticeable ones. As long as you're still coming to my basketball games, he'd said finally, bumping my shoulder with his. Not everyone was as understanding, but the ones who mattered stuck around. Ethan, Mom called from downstairs. Jesse's here. Coming. I called back, running a hand through my hair one last time. Jesse was new at school, transferring in after winter break. We'd been paired up for a history project and discovered a shared love of obscure documentaries and bad science fiction movies. After weeks of studying together, they'd asked if I wanted to see a movie this weekend. Not quite a date, but maybe heading in that direction. Hey, Jesse said when I came downstairs, their face lighting up. Ready to go? Mom gave me a knowing smile as I grabbed my jacket. Have fun, you two. Don't be too late. Outside, Jesse and I walked side by side, our shoulders occasionally brushing. I like your sweater, they said. That color's good on you. Thanks, I replied, feeling a warm glow spread through me. My aunt helped me pick it out. As we walked toward the theater, I felt lighter than I had in years. I didn't have all the answers yet. Didn't know exactly what label fit me best or where this journey would lead. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid to find out. The setting sun caught my reflection in a store window as we passed. Not a stranger anymore, but me. Finally. Beautifully me.